Hello. Yes. So I had an important call from someone from the forum. So I welcome Devarti ma'am and request Dr. Shubhangi to please carry on with the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepika. Good evening, everyone. As you all aware,
Good evening.
or good evening, Devarti. Aware, since last 3 months, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, okay. As you all are aware, since last 3 months, we, the English Forum Nagpur, is with the series of webinar on various topics, panel discussions with the education department, dignitaries, and the administrators from various institutions. Today, we have an immense pleasure to introduce a profound, multi-talented, multilingual, yet, as far as I know her, a very silent personality. We met on the platform British Council Ellis Project for Maharashtra government. Debarati Roy is a founder, ELTA Global, and ESL teacher, a teacher trainer, corporate trainer, IELTS examiner, and an editor. Her philosophy rests not on lecturing, but on making learning happen through increased student participation and through promoting learner autonomy. Exploiting a wide array of teaching approaches and experimenting with diverse methodologies have enabled her learners to make the language serviceable. Above all, she believes that learning an international language, English, exponentially strengthens a learner's grasp on life and other wonders, thus empowering them. Spearheading English Language Training Academy, www.eltaglobal.in, and taking her expertise in English language and trainings to further levels. Debarati Roy is an entrepreneur, language teacher, and EIELTS examiner, a teacher, and a corporate trainer. She has been working as an educationist for a decade now and has worked with people across nationalities, age groups, professions, ethnicities, languages, disciplines, geographies, and hierarchies. She has imparted training over 11,000 teaching hours till date. Debarati started working with the British Council in 2009, where she has analyzed needs and managed expectations of learners, identified learning styles to scaffold their learning process, adapted materials to suit the context of multicultural students, mentored and supported new teachers in lesson planning and delivery, maintained a database of lesson plans, and maintained a robust learning procedure for self-development. The courses she delivered at British Council are English Evolution, General English Language, English Impact, Communicative English and Employability Skills, IELTS Regular and Intensive, IELTS Exam Preparation Courses, English Executive Business English, Young Learner Courses, a variety of thematic courses for children aged between 8 to 15. In 2014, she cleared the first module of Delta from Cambridge University with a merit. She was the first teacher at the British Council teaching at Calcutta to have written the exam and scored a merit without going through any formal course of Delta. After working as a full-time teacher with the British Council, Kolkata, imparting lessons over 7,000 man-hours and teaching a wide array of courses to multinational students ranging from elementary A1 to upper intermediate B2 level of language. She finally started working on establishing her own training institute, English Language Training Academy, ELTA Global, working with students from schools and colleges, training teachers and professors. training employees across hierarchies from several national and international organizations. The forte of ELTA Global is customization. Debarati ensures that a thorough needs analysis be conducted in liaison with the client proficiency level of the target audience be evaluated, a tailored course be designed, and thereafter approved by the client before the final delivery of the program. ELTA Global, under Debarati's stewardship, has reached different parts of the country and bagged laurels for the impeccable quality of the programs delivered. At around the same time, she started training government school teachers pan-India on the latest teaching methodologies, transforming teacher-dominated classrooms to learner-centered classrooms. Interacting with stakeholders from students, parents, teachers, headmasters, educational officers to district education officers opened new avenues to her research and development. Reality far starker that she had imagined: no electricity, lack of drinking water facilities, lack of proper education, poverty-stricken family backgrounds of students, dearth of textbooks, and in some districts, scarcity of food. Impacting the education system seemed a Herculean task. What considerably came to her aid was her prior experience and her thirst to make a difference. Some of the esteemed clients Debarati and ELTA Global have delivered their services are educational institutions, National Institute of Technology, Patna, National Institute of Fashion and Technology, Kolkata, Presidency University, Kolkata, Bengal Engineering and Science University, Shibpur, Himalayan International School, Siliguri, Taurian World School, Ranchi, Gothels Memorial School, Kusong, Ramakrishna Sarada Mission Vivekananda Vidya Bhuvan, UFIN's Learning. Her corporate organizations are: she works with Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Haldia, Triplex Water Engineering India, Digital Avenues, Suez India, Titan, Tanish, and Titan I+. So this was a short introduction of Debarati. Let's start. I welcome our today's speaker, Debarati Roy, our executive body, English Forum Nagpur, and all the participants. Yes, Debarati, the floor is all yours for the topic, how to develop fluency. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good evening. That was a rather extremely long introduction. I wasn't expecting that. I'm actually at a loss of words. I really don't know what to say. But anyway, thank you very much for that elaborate introduction of mine. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is safe wherever you are, whichever part of the country you are. I believe we are from different parts of the country, is it? Or is it just Nagpur and West Bengal? Is there anybody from any other state or city?
Most of us are from Nagpur.
I'm sorry?
Most of us
all
are
of them
from
Nagpur.
Right. Most of you are from Nagpur. There are some from Calcutta as well. I know there's one person from Siliguri. So I know a few from West Bengal have joined in this evening.
Sumit from Delhi.
Oh, some are from Delhi. Okay, all right. Great. So that's east, west, and north covered. Fantastic. All right. So good evening and welcome everybody. Thank you everybody who could take the time out and make yourselves available for this session. I hope everybody finds something of value from the whole session. Of course, the topic today is such that we all have spoken about it. We have heard others talk about it. We have read up about it. So it's already a very common topic, and we all know it. Yet there are complaints, yet there are people who still feel that they do not have enough resources or um, ideas or strategies to actually work on their English. So as Ajay sir and Shubhangi ma'am and Deepika ma'am mentioned, this session is on developing your spoken skills, something that I think all of us struggle with or have struggled with at some point in our time. And it could be any language for that matter. We will be discussing a few ideas about what are some of the things that we can do in order to equip ourselves, or maybe you do not need help, maybe somebody else needs help. So you can help the other person by sharing these ideas, perhaps. Of course, there are a lot of things that we can do, and our time is limited, so we cannot discuss everything under the sun. However, I have shortlisted a few ideas that I would like to share with you all. But before you do that, before we do that, I have a few questions that I would like to ask everybody. And you can either, there are 60 of us as I can see, which is great. Thank you, everyone. So when you want to answer, you can either write in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and speak, whatever you're convenient with. So the first thing that I would like you all to do, everybody present here, and I will also join in, I'll do that as well, is to think about, to introspect and to reflect on the way we speak now, or the kind of practices that we apply or implement in our daily conversations, so to speak. So the first question that I have for everyone is, how do you feel about your fluency now? So when you speak in English at this point in time, how do you feel about it? Do you feel confident? Do you feel that, I'm there, but I could be better? Or do you think I really need a lot of help? Whatever that answer may be. Okay, somebody has said not too good. Another person has said, I feel confident, which is fantastic. Excellent.
There is always a room at the top.
Yes, of course. I mean, there is no end to learning, and language is such a thing that demands practice, and it can be any language for that matter. And English, which is not a language of this land, it's not a language of this country. So obviously it will take time. That's pretty obvious, because we don't, not all of us speak in English at home. All right. One person has written, I feel afraid when a fluent person is in front of me. Okay. So you're scared to speak to somebody who is better, whose spoken skills are better. Okay. I feel too many things are yet to get added to in order to make it polished. All right. Anybody else? Is there any response on Facebook? I can't access Facebook right now. So if the moderator can check any response on Facebook, you can share that as well.
Not yet.
All right, fair enough. So more or less, we all think that there is room for improvement. So let's just sort of settle at that. The next question is, when we speak in English now, what are some of the problems that we face? I mean, it can be a different problem for everybody, and I'm assuming it will be different for most of us. But what are some of the problems that you face now? Hesitation, one person has mentioned. Shejuti has mentioned that while writing, she needs more help while writing. Oh, while speaking, she becomes very cautious. Okay. While writing, she's more confident with her written skills. Lack of vocabulary. Speed. How do you mean speed? Like the rate of speech? Is that what you mean? One person has written prepositions. Okay. All right. So we do have varied responses as I can see. Um, my next question, as of now, till date, we've all put in our efforts to learn this language. Uh, some of us have started practicing the language from early on, from childhood. Some of us may have started at a later age in life. But whenever you may have started learning the language, what are some of the steps that you've taken along the way in order to get better at the language? Can anybody speak? Maybe a few people can unmute and speak.
Try not to use the general mother tongue.
Okay, so
Hello,
practicing in the language more, you mean?
Devarti ma'am.
Yes.
This is Sarika. Good
Hi,
evening.
Harry. Very good evening. Very good evening.
As you said, when any of us started speaking, no.
Mm-hmm.
So my father told me, I mean, he used to teach this English language only. So
Okay.
he told me, if you feel fear, just speak and speak and speak. It may be wrong, or maybe the next person can correct you, accept the correction, or just think the front one is donkey or donkey and keep on speaking. That's what he taught me.
Yeah, so the point is that, you know, even if you feel afraid, you have to tread on, you know, you have to keep marching forward.
Yes.
And I mean, because it's a language at the end of the day, it's a matter of practice. And anything and everything, if you want to be good at something, you have to practice. So I think that's the cardinal rule for anything that you want to be good at. So yeah, I think your father was right, certainly. Anybody else has any response? Reading newspaper. Okay, so one of the strategies of improving the language, reading newspaper, um, using more English in day-to-day usage. Okay, listening. All right. Anything else? Thinking. Yes, thinking in English is very important, and you will hear pretty much every language teacher telling you this, that, you know, you need to think in English in order to be able to speak in English accurately, because translation from your mother language or any other language is not really a very good idea. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. So if you were asked to, you know, maybe enlist a few points that you would like to work upon when it comes to your spoken skills, when it comes to your fluency, what are some of those things that you would like to work upon? I would request you, if you can, you know, take 30 seconds and make a note personally about the areas that you would like to work on. And then maybe we can discuss a few. So I'll give you 30 seconds to make a list of the aspects of the spoken skills, the areas of your fluency that you want to work upon.
See, the best way to
Okay.
improve the fluency, I feel,
Yes.
is to put yourself into those people, among those people who know only English and no other language.
Yeah. So it's called the, you know, like throwing in the deep end sort of deep end of the sea, sort of a situation where you're forced to use the language and you don't have a choice. Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You are not afraid of whether you will be wrong or right or something like that.
Yeah, so in lockdown times, I don't know how realistic that is, but virtually, if you can create a group,
All,
you
all
can
kids,
most certainly do that for sure, of course. Okay, so there are a few answers coming in. The areas of English that people want to improve upon. So vocabulary, um, phrases, correct grammar, spoken skills. So yeah, we are talking about spoken skills, but the aspect of spoken skills that you want to work upon. Simplifying the language. Okay, so that's interesting. Sai, one of my ex-student has written, he wants to simplify the language using phrases and idioms. Okay, so if I can quickly answer that question, yes, using phrases and idioms does beautify, do beautify your language. It adorns your language, gives it a nice color to whatever you're saying. Um, but then it's again, like it's a matter of practice, and you need to maybe identify or choose a few idioms that you would set a target of using on a daily basis, for example. Of course, this is something that you do when you start dedicating time to learn something, and over time it becomes your second nature, actually. All right, okay, so let's move on from here. What we are going to do now, what we are going to look at now, and I would request everybody to keep your pen and paper ready. Uh, can I request everyone to put themselves on mute? There's a lot of background noise from somewhere. A lot of utensils, cutlery.
Deepika ma'am?
Yes, if I mute, I will mute all.
Yeah, you mute
Yeah,
all.
but don't mute me, please.
Has it gone? Now, Devarti ma'am, you unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, so we're going to start with the session, the reason why we are all here. Of course, like I said, that there are multiple ways of working on your fluency. There's a lot that you can do, and I'm sure you will find multiple ways on the internet from your experts, from other teachers, from other language learners, etc. But today I'm going to discuss 10 ways of improving your fluency. Again, feel free to take down those notes. Feel free to make a note of all of these things. And then at the end, we can check which of those ideas you would like to try out, maybe. Okay, so the first one is this. Does anybody know what this is? You can write in the chat box if you want. It's written in the image, so. Okay, so it's, as you can see, it's there are levels from A1 to C2. These are called CEFR levels. The full form is Common European Framework for Reference. And these are the levels that help us identify the proficiency level of a particular speaker. And you can use this for every language, actually. The elements of the language that you need to identify in a particular speaker are pretty much the same across languages. So my first tip is identify your proficiency. Find out what your level of proficiency in English is at this point in time. You will find a lot of experts. You may either know personally, or you can find online, or maybe from a group that you are a member of. You can ask around you. I'm sure you will find somebody who can help you identify what your proficiency level is. It's very important that you know where you are, where you stand, because without that you might you may not have a focus, you may not have a direction as to what you should be focusing on or what you should be learning. So once you do that, you should understand that it would take, scientifically, this is proven. So there has been a lot of research done as to how much time a learner should ideally take to move from one level to another. And research says that it takes a minimum of 9 months to 12 months, depending on how fast a learner you are. So once you have identified your level, you should set a target that, okay, from at least 6 to 9 months, I'm going to study, or I'm going to find out materials. I'm going to look up materials that are conducive for my particular level that I can study, that I can work upon. And that should, give you a direction as to whether you will be able to move up the level or not. So I think this is the first thing that you should do. And if you are suggesting another language learner, this is a good suggestion to give, that identify what your proficiency level is. That should be your starting point. The next thing is setting your goals. So once you've identified what your proficiency level is, it should be easy for you to set the goals. Now, it is very important to check whether your goals are SMART. Now, of course, they should be SMART, like the meaning of the word SMART, the dictionary meaning. But I'm talking about SMART as an acronym here. As you can see in the image, S stands for specific. So your goal needs to be very specific. It should not be vague. It should be measurable. M stands for measurable. So for example, if you say, I want to develop my grammar in 6 months, you can't measure that. How do you quantify that? How do you measure it? Can you measure it? Just grammar does not make sense. You have to pinpoint. Maybe you can identify a specific area, maybe adverbs, for example, or maybe I want to focus on adjectives for personality, for example. That's specific. So if you are specific and if you can quantify your goal, higher are the chances that you'll meet them. Next is achievable. Again, you know that you have, say, 6 months time. And if you set a target that should ideally take 2 years, then it is not an achievable target. You should also consider the other things that you do. I'm sure learning English is not the only thing that you are doing. So think about what are the other engagements you have. How much time can you actually dedicate to learning English? How many hours a day or how many hours a week? Be as specific as possible. So the more you do that, the more realistic your goals will be. And the last one is timely. So ascertaining a specific time frame is very, very important when you are setting your goals. So again, when we're talking about time, it is important to talk about both long-term and short-term goals. So set a long-term goal first. So let's say your long-term goal is to move from your current level of proficiency to the next level of proficiency. So let's say if you are an intermediate speaker, which is CEFR level B1, your long-term goal is to go up to B2, which is upper intermediate. Now that could be your long-term goal, but in order to fulfill or achieve that long-term goal, you need to have a set of short-term goals. You need to break it down into smaller, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals, several such SMART short-term goals that can help you fulfill your long-term goal. Okay, so make sure that your goals follow all of these things. They are SMART, they are both long-term and short-term. Moving on to the next tip. Now, this is something that majority of us might be able to relate to, because most people complain that, we do not have a partner at home that we can speak in English with. So if that is the case, of course, we need to find out, or we need to think of different ways through which we can engage ourselves individually in the learning process. So you can see the images on my screen, and I'm sure quite a few are already pretty evident. It's pretty self-explanatory. So we are talking about independent learning ideas here, but you will also see independent active learning ideas. If you look at my screen, you will see independent active learning ideas. Why active? You'll come to know in a bit. So the first one, I mean, of course, there is no order, there is no rank. There's no reason why I have ranked it one. It's just the first one. Pronunciation. So the way you sound when you speak. It's very important that the sound of your language is understandable, is legible by the listeners or by the people that you're speaking to. So it's very important that you work on the sounds of English. And when I say pronunciation, I do not only mean the individual sounds. So English has 44 sounds. Okay, some are vowel sounds, some are consonant sounds. It is not only important to be good at or learn those individual sounds, but it is also important to know how to modulate your voice. So every language has its own style. Okay, so the rise and fall of your voice conveys a lot of meaning. All right, and native speakers of any language they use their voice modulation in a certain way to add a certain meaning to what they're saying. So it's very important that you know the intonation that native speakers of English would use. The next is watch movies, watch videos. A lot of people are binge watching Netflix and Amazon these days, which is also great. I mean, if you have a lot of movies that you like, that you are interested in, it's not a bad idea to watch them. But you should have a focus. I mean, most of us watch it for the sake of pleasure, but it's important that we set a focus. So you can watch it for pleasure. Let's say the first time you're watching a movie, you are watching it for pleasure, but watch it another time. This time, maybe you can focus on the kind of language that they're using. You can focus on the way they're pronouncing the sounds. Focus on the subtitle, and you can read and listen to the speakers at the same time. So you know the spelling and you know the pronunciation of the words. So you can practice while you're listening to them. So that is something that you can do when you are studying alone. And hence, I'm saying active learning idea. So you're actively involved in the learning process, not just watching a movie and that's it. Next is maintain a journal. So a lot of you wrote in the chat box that you want to improve your vocabulary, etc. I hope all of you are writing down these ideas. Yes?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. So yeah, so maintaining journal is another important idea that you can use, that you can follow. So for example, if you come across a good word or a good phrase that you are interested in, that you want to maybe try out, you can make a note of it in your journal. A good movie somebody suggested that you want to watch, you can make a note of it in your journal. Music, you know, like there are a lot of songs that we listen to and they really strike a chord with us. So listen to English music as well. There are a lot of people that I know personally that you know have improved their language through English music, and it is actually a great idea to, you know, look at the lyrics and listen to the song. And as you can see, I've written that my personal tip, and this is what I've always suggested to my students, is just listen and sing. As you listen, keep singing along, keep humming along. You not only learn the song, but you also automatically learn chunks of language that you can use. I mean, these are things that happen subconsciously. You don't realize, but perhaps at a later time when you are speaking in English with somebody, you might pick and choose a word or a phrase from a song that you heard or that you liked, and it just makes sense. So you get access to ready-made language chunks. So here we are not just talking about individual words, but language chunks, which is easy when you are putting it in a sentence or putting it in a context. Moving on to the next tip. So this is what I meant when I said active learners. Now there's a stark difference between an active or a passive learner. Would anybody like to say what you understand by an active learner and what you understand by a passive learner? You can either write in the chat box or you can
Active learners are equally a participant. As a passive learner, they simply listen and they don't speak. In active, there are two-way communication.
correct, right, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, simply put, that is exactly what active and passive learners mean. In passive learning, there's hardly any participation happening. So when we looked at the ideas in on the previous slide, all of those ideas were active processes. You're not just watching a movie, but you're also focusing on the language and making a note in your journal. You're not just listening to a song, but you're looking at the lyrics. You're focusing on the lyrics, and you're taking chunks out of the lyrics and using it, implementing it when you're speaking with somebody else later. So these are all active processes, active participation that's involved in your learning process. So this is what a passive learner would do. Read a book, read a newspaper, article, magazine, whatever, listen to videos, chats, and that's it. Do nothing about it. That is a passive learning process. A lot of people say, oh, well, I read a lot of newspapers. Okay, which means you're collecting a lot of information, which is great. But is there an active participation in learning the language there? Many people do actively participate, but not everybody does. That's the point. Now, an active learner would perhaps, while reading a news article, might underline a phrase, might circle a sentence that this is a nice sentence that I'd like to use, and perhaps would write it down in a journal. Nowadays, we all carry everything in our phone. So a lot of people journal it on their phone itself. So there are documents. There are a lot of these applications where you can keep a note of the things that you learn. I still do it all the time. Whenever I come across a good word or a good phrase, because again, like this is a never-ending process. Language learning is a never-ending process. There is no end to the amount of improvement that you can seek. So yeah, so these are some of the active learning ideas that you can try out. Next, and I am extremely in favor of this point, it's very important to choose topics that you're interested in. Don't force yourself to read or listen to something or watch something that you are not interested in, but you're doing it just for the sake of it, just because somebody must have told you that, oh, if you watch this video, you will learn a lot of things. But if I'm not interested in it, how would it help me? How would it benefit me? So please choose topics or contexts that interest you, at least when you are starting your learning process. After all, I mean, after a long period of time, when you have kind of familiarized yourself with the learning process, maybe there are things that you do automatically or subconsciously. You don't have to force yourself to do it. You do it like it's your second nature. Then maybe you can try and challenge yourself to explore untrodden territories, to explore areas that you have not explored enough before. Then fine. But if you are starting out, please focus on topics that interest you. I'll drink water, just excuse me. My throat's drying up. So yeah, so if you want to motivate somebody, or if you want to help somebody with ideas on how he or she can work on his or her spoken skills, I think this should be an important tip to give, that start with something that you're interested in, something that motivates you. Now, this particular tip number 6, is directly linked to my first tip, where I mentioned about CEFR. So once I have identified my proficiency level, what do I do about it? I look for materials that are relevant, that are suitable for this particular level. So when we select such kind of materials, we call them graded materials, because the material is graded for a particular level. If you are learning on your own, if you are not signing up for a course, if you do not have a language teacher around you, if you do not have an expert around you, please go online. First of all, you find out what your CEFR level is. Go online, find materials of your particular level. So let's say if your level is pre-intermediate, go online, write pre-intermediate reading text or pre-intermediate student's book, and you will get loads of resources there. And you can go through those workbooks, those exercises, those tasks, and you can help yourself. You can support your own learning process. Of course, an expert can help you better, but it's important that the texts that you're reading are suitable for your level. And why is that important? Number one, if the text is extremely easy, then you have nothing to learn. If the text is extremely difficult, then perhaps it will shatter your confidence. You might feel, oh, I don't know this, I can't understand, and you just might get demotivated. None of those two things are a good idea to follow. So it's important that you find something that is suitable for your level, so that you can stay focused, so that you can stay motivated. Okay, so selecting graded material is very important. Moving on to the next tip. Now, this is very important. This is called the LRRC method. So what does LRRC mean? L stands for listen. So listen to something that is suitable for your level, which we just spoke about. Next is repeat. The R stands for repeat. Repeat whatever you listen. So say, for example, if you listened to a chat, or if you listened to a talk on TEDx, for example, after you've watched it or after you've heard the talk, say it in your own words, paraphrase it. Just summarize the whole information using your existing language. What to do after that? Record it. So as you repeat, as you paraphrase whatever you heard, whatever you listened, record it while you're doing that. We all have smartphones now, so it's very easy to record on your phone. After you've recorded it, compare with the original and see what are the differences between your recorded talk and the original talk. Of course, there will be a lot of differences. There will be a lot of areas that you would have to work upon. Now, every time you can have a particular focus. So in the first time that you're comparing or the first time that you're editing or re-recording, your focus can be on your pronunciation. Next time, your focus can be on 5 select words that you want to use. The next time, your focus can be on extending your talk, maybe. Perhaps in the first time, you finished it very briefly. Now you want to extend it, add more meat to it, add more value to what you're saying. So every time you can have a separate target as to why you are recording yourself. And every time you can work on those areas. So that's your LRRC method. Listen, repeat, record, compare. And then repeat the whole process. So if you can do that, that also can be an excellent way of working on your language. Okay, I'll quickly stop here for a second. Is there any questions so far? Is everything clear to everybody? Is there anything that you want me to repeat, or if you want me to go slow? Anyone? You can write in the chat box. Yes, clear. Okay. Is this space?
Yes, Debarati, you can continue.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on to fluency tip number 8. All right. I want you to look at the image first. Before I say anything, I want you to look at the image, and I want you to tell me, what do you think this particular tip is about? What does this picture suggest?
Using
Okay,
idiom phrases, ma'am?
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Is it using idioms and phrases while
Yes,
talking?
exactly. Absolutely. Thank you, Sarika ma'am. Also, Dr. Shubhra Roy has mentioned idioms.
Thank you.
Yes, Triparna has a question which is about pronunciation. I'll come back to your question. I'll take the question at the end. So please hold on to that question, Triparna. I'll answer it in a bit. So yes, I am talking about phrases. I am talking about idiomatic expressions here. So the point is, in school, and this is something that I have faced, and I know a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues have faced this during their academic years, that we had to learn we had to learn isolated words, and we had to make sentences with those words. We just had to learn, open the dictionary and find out the meaning of those words, learn the meaning of those words, and then write a sentence with that word. I'm sure many of you have done that in your school, like when you were in school. Now the problem with that is, there are a lot of words which have multiple meanings, and the meanings change depending on the context in which you are using. This we were not told when we were in school, the importance of the context and how a word not only changes its meaning but also sometimes its pronunciation. There are a lot of words, we call them homonyms, so the spellings are the same, the pronunciation is different, so they're called homonyms. So there are those words where the pronunciations change, the meaning changes, just basis the context. So it's very important that instead of learning one single word or isolated, decontextualized words, you learn chunks of language. You learn phrases. So if you learn a phrase, if you learn an expression, then half your sentence is taken care of. So it's more like a trick. It's more like a, cheat fact, so to speak. So if you learn phrases, for example, I'm a big fan of phrasal verbs, and I always tell my students that, learn phrasal verbs. It beautifies your language. You can say a lot of things in very short words, and you can come across as an advanced speaker of the language. So learning chunks of language, learning phrases. So when you're reading, for example, article, book, newspaper, whatever, magazine, whatever you're reading, try and focus on chunks of language that you can use in another similar context when you're speaking to your friends or somebody else, maybe. Idiomatic expressions, as you can see in the picture, these are idiomatic expressions. So obviously, when we say don't let the cat out of the bag, we do not literally mean that. We do not literally mean he had a frog in his throat. Like I have a frog in my throat right now, but of course it's not literal. So when you use idiomatic expressions, you can, make people laugh. It's funny sometimes. Idiomatic expressions, they're great in striking conversations. They're excellent in kind of building rapport, and idiomatic expressions are generally very informal. So if you want to, you know, can I request, I don't know where that sound is coming from.
I think we need to mute all. Ma'am, please unmute yourself, okay?
All right. Okay, all right. So continuing with what I was saying. So idiomatic expressions help you to kind of, like I said, strike a rapport, add fun or humor to what you're saying. It also helps you to come across as an advanced speaker of the language. So like one person had written in the chat box that, you know, when there is a person who speaks better than me, I feel shy, I feel afraid. So if you can use idiomatic expressions, maybe the person will not feel that you are not competent enough or you're not as good. So again, another cheat fact. Collocations is another excellent tool that you can use to develop your language. Also, if I can add here, there are a lot of people who take tests to go abroad. Again, there's a lot of background noise.
Selokar sir, please mute yourself. Selokar sir.
Okay, all right, so continuing. So yes, a lot of people take exams, those who want to go abroad for education or for work. So there are exams like IELTS, SAT, GRE, TOEFL, PTE, etc., etc. So there are a lot of these exams. Even there, you need to prove how well you speak the language. And especially in IELTS exam, your choice of words is very important. So if you are really learning the language and if you want to take an exam someday in future, this could be a good strategy to develop your vocabulary and also create an impact on your spoken skills. Proverbs, another interesting way to kind of beautify your language is proverbs or quotes, old sayings. So you can also say a lot of things using very less number of words. So that's why they kind of make you sound like a better speaker. Tip number 9. Now, this is one of my personal favorites. Again, can anybody tell me what is the tip from the image? Can you look at the image and tell me what the tip I'm going to talk about in this slide? You can write in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and speak.
Various elements of the subjects.
Anything else?
Yes, ma'am. Going step by step for a particular topic while speaking on it.
This image has a particular name.
Yeah.
It is a mind map.
Who's that?
Deepika.
Yes, yes, Deepika ma'am, it is a mind map. So can anybody tell me what are the functions or benefits of using a mind map?
You can predict. Prediction is good.
So if you use mind map in order to help your spoken skills, then how do you think you can do that? Okay, one Dr. Shubhra Roy has said helps to organize your ideas. Yes. Takes the learner close to the topic, helps in clarifying, maybe, if that is what you mean, clarifying the topic. So yeah, so the primary reason or function or benefit of using a mind map is, okay, one person has written correlating. Yeah, that too. Let's find out. So correlating or making connections, yes. So you can associate or connect ideas. So when you are learning about something or when you're talking about something, if you can connect multiple ideas, then you can keep talking. So for example, if I want you to talk about mobile phones, for example, instantly you might think, oh, there are a lot of things that I can talk about. But eventually people dry up after a minute or two. So if you make a mind map and if you can make a list of all the ideas, all the different elements, all the different aspects or segments that you can cover when it comes to mobile phone, then you will see that you already have a lot of ideas that you can keep talking about. So making connections help you to gather more ideas, gather a lot more ideas than you can otherwise think of, and it also helps you to keep talking. Next is when you're learning. So if you're using a mind map to learn something, because you can make connections and because you can correlate, so the learning becomes very meaningful. You have a proper context, you can have a bigger picture, you know the bigger picture, you know it's a holistic learning that's happening. Since you are making all the correlations, you know that okay, it's not something in isolation, but there are a lot of other things that can come together. You remember for a very long time. So longer retention means you can remember it for a long time because you understand, because your learning is meaningful, so you remember for a long time. Most of us have memorized without understanding throughout our school or academic life. When we do that, we obviously forget, we don't remember it for a very long time because it doesn't make sense to us. The next is simplifying concepts. So when you are teaching, so as a teacher, if you use mind mapping as a tool to simplify or to break down complex concepts, even then it can come in extremely handy for the learners. Again, they can see the whole picture. They can have a macroscopic as well as microscopic view or understanding or perception of that concept. So it helps them to relate to it better, productivity increases, of course, because you're more involved, you're learning better, you're retaining longer, and you're understanding, you're comprehending better. So obviously your productivity increases. Connecting ideas, which we have covered already. Elaborating on your ideas, which I mentioned. So if you're using mind map to speak on a particular topic, it can help you to keep elaborating or keep giving details to your point, so you can keep on talking. And finally, it's an engaging form of learning. So if you're using it with your learners as a teacher, as a facilitator, it can help them stay more engaged. So if you can give them a context or a concept, and if you can ask them to make mind maps out of it, they will come up with interesting ways of breaking it out, branching it out into smaller segments that can actually be an engaging and productive form of learning. So that's fluency tip number 9. And the last tip for the evening, again, from the image, can you suggest what I'm going to talk about or what it is telling you? Anything it conveys?
Collaborative learning.
Anything else? Let's check the chat. Group learning, taking notes, collaborative discussion. Okay.
Peer learning.
This is the previous slide. Somebody asked. Okay, so Yeah, group discussion I've got. Anything else? Group, pair, all right. Okay. There's one more response.
Is it a
Sharing
reading club?
ideas. Sorry?
A reading club?
You're there, you're pretty close. I am talking not necessarily a reading club, but yes, I am talking about a club or a study group, so to speak. And this is one of the important reasons why it is important. I would like you to read the first point here. So it's very important that the people you're learning with, they do not make fun of you. It's important that the people you're learning with support you, that they help you to learn, and vice versa, of course. So it's important to have a very collaborative, friendly, supportive, non-threatening environment. It's very important to have a non-threatening environment, especially when you're learning. A lot of times we feel threatened by our teachers also, because the teachers expect that, how come you don't know this? So it's very important that as teachers we are sensitive towards our learners too. It's extremely important, um, because it's a matter of trust at the end of the day. So if that trust factor dissolves, if that does not exist, then you've lost a learner. So it's very important that we provide that environment to our learners. And also, if you are a learner, you find that supportive, empathetic and non-threatening group of members who can support you in your learning process. It is so it's a good idea to create a language club where you can have different kind of forums. You can have different kind of discussions. You can have a club where you can watch movies on certain days and have discussions afterwards, or listen to a particular album and have discussion about that, or just have free flowing discussions on any topic that appeals to you. And again, you have to remember that there have to be those times where you can speak freely, not constantly being corrected by somebody, because that will also spoil or disrupt your fluency if you're constantly being interrupted. So that's another importance. Again, given the current scenario, perhaps we'll have to find our language clubs or create our language clubs online. But the reason why I have written be safe is because there's a lot of spamming happening online. There's a lot of cybersecurity issues taking place online. So it's very, very important that whoever you find, the language partner that you find or partners that you find, they're all, you know them. It's not like it's a fake account that you are, dealing with. And this is especially important for children, or, people who are really naive and gullible. So this particular message in the bracket is more for people either who are very gullible or who are new to the online platform. Because of this pandemic situation, a lot of people have to work online and they are not comfortable. So we have to take that into consideration as well. There are teachers who have perhaps never used the online platform or never delivered a virtual training session before. So it's for all those people who need to know that we need to ensure a level of safety when we are working online. Feel free to experiment with different topics when you're working in your groups. You can have different ideas, different topics for different days. You can have the Mondays dedicated to something. You can have the Wednesdays dedicated to something. So you can have your own different forms of experimentation of the different kind of topics that you want to explore with, the different ways of learning that you want to explore with. So yeah, the more you experiment, I mean, that is important, because unless you experiment, you would not know what you're good at. You would not know what you need to be good at. So treat your space like a laboratory where you're experimenting with the language. And the more you experiment, the more mistakes you make. The more mistakes you make, the more you will learn. The more you learn, the less mistakes you make. So that's as simple as that. So if you keep experimenting, you will notice after a point in time that the number of mistakes are reducing over time. So it's very, very important to experiment. You should never be afraid to fail. That is what I always keep telling people. And yes, be patient. Very, very important. I mean, you cannot learn a language overnight. You cannot learn a language. You cannot lose patience after, say, a month or a few weeks. You have to give it time. You have to give it patience. It demands your time. You know, you have to give it that due time that it requires. So yeah, so these are my tips for that I had shortlisted for this evening. I would quickly like you to choose 3 ideas from this list of 10 that you would like to experiment with. You can make a personal note. You don't really have to tell me. You can write in the chat also if you want, but you can also make a personal note of 3 ideas that you feel are new ideas that are worth experimenting with, that you would like to try, or that you would like to suggest somebody else to try out. So I've got language lab or club, LLRC method, and mind map. Okay. Club, LLRC, listening to English music. All right. Any more answers? Are there any responses on Facebook that anybody can access?
No, there are no responses on Facebook, but there were some answers to your questions.
Okay.
For example, when you asked about the idioms, there were 2
Right. Okay, so this question or this task, well, not really a task, but this is for everybody, whoever can hear me at this point in time. I would like you to write down 3 ideas that you liked from the entire list of 10. You can write in the chat box and you can let us know which 3 ideas you would like to experiment with, or you would like to suggest someone to try out. Okay, looks like LLRC is a hit. A lot of people are writing LLRC. Smart goals, okay, using phrases. Goals again. Mind map. Topics of interest, yes. Listening skills, language club.
Sri Kumar sir on FB has written LRRCB.
I'm sorry? LRRC. Yes.
Huh.
That's a hit. LRRC is a hit.
No, he added B into it. He added B into it. We need to ask him what B stands for.
LRRC. Okay, also we want 3 ideas, not 1. Thank you, Sarika ma'am. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, there is a question. May I ask you now?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Shankar sir is asking, what are the most important things we should have in a language lab?
You should have in your language lab?
Yeah.
Like in terms of infrastructure? Or
I don't know what he's asking, but that is his question on FB.
okay, so I don't know what exactly the person means. So if you are talking about a physical place, again, it is not possible in this point, at this point in time, but let's say you have a space where people can come and speak to each other in English. If you have a place like that, in that case, a few good ideas to keep or have in your space would be an audio system, so you can listen. You can have a projector or a screen that you can project on, um, where you can watch movies together or watch videos together. You can have a board where you can, you know, write. You can have a lot of chart paper, a lot of A3 sheets, A4 sheets, etc., that you can use for project work and stuff. And you should, most importantly, the furniture should be such that they can be movable. You shouldn't have fixed furniture, ideally. Now, this could be the requirement for a physical space. If you are talking about a virtual space, then I don't know. I mean, virtually you can do pretty much everything. I mean, apart from physically seeing each other, you can watch movies, videos, you can listen to podcasts. There are also a lot of apps where you can write and stuff. You can do all of those things. So virtually also you can do. There are certain platforms where you have breakout rooms. So which means that, let's say, if there are 10 people, there can be 5 pairs, for example. So five pairs, they would speak in their pairs, and the other pairs would not know. So you can take help of those features also, like group work, so you can ensure group work like that. Okay, thank you Sirajuddin, thank you Mahindra, thank you Arvind Thakreji, thank you Sarika, thank you very much. Any other ideas that anybody would like to take away from the session? It could either be that you as a learner will take away, or it could be that you as a facilitator will take away from this session and maybe share with your learners or something. So if I can ask people from West Bengal to respond. Do we have people from West Bengal?
Ma'am, can I interrupt?
Yes, please.
Shankar sir is again asking,
Yes.
will you allow us to visit your language lab, please?
We can create a language lab virtually. That's not a problem. We can always do that. We can have multiple language labs. In fact, this is also a group. The particular forum that we are all at right now, English Forum Nagpur, is also one of those clubs as such. And ELTA Global, my institute, we have groups like that for different kinds of audience, different kinds of learners. So there are different groups for different age groups. So there are students, I mean students who go to school. There are clubs like that. There are clubs where, you know, people who work in the media, in the entertainment industry, they sort of come together and speak to each other and share ideas. So that is again a very niche group, very protected, where, you know, they do not want public eye. They want to maintain that privacy. So there are different kind of groups, but we can always create one. So that should be fine. Arvind Thakurji, what's your question? Okay,
Subir
are
Ray, sir.
gesture, movements, and body language important for spoken English fluency? Okay, so gesture, movements, body language, etc., irrespective of the language that you are speaking, it is not necessary for only English. It is necessary for any language. It is necessary for communication. So again, according to research, 7%. So if our communication is, say, 100%, 7% of that communication happens through words. The remaining 93% of the communication happens through your body language, your eye contact, your hand gestures, etc. So yes, non-verbal communication is extremely important. How well you use your hand gestures or your facial expressions, your smile, your eye contact, your body language, each of these things will send a message to the person that you're communicating with. Now, if I start frowning and speak to you, would you be interested to listen to me? Of course not. You will not want to look at a frowning face, right? So your body language does have a huge role to play in any kind of communication that there is. Dr. Bankule Devarati, how do you look upon the remote area learners of English as a language? I'm not too sure about the question, ma'am. Can you please paraphrase maybe? You mean how the learners in rural areas can support their learning process? Is that what you mean?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, Devarati. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So again, by remote areas, if you mean that they do not have access to a lot of things, now it would depend on what are the things that they have access to. Say, for example, if they do not have access to the internet, then we would have to fall back on, you know, paper based things. So are we talking about having access to newspapers? I mean, do they have access to English newspapers or English books? Anything in English that they have access to. So if you want to learn a language, you have to surround yourself with that language. You have to create an environment around yourself so that you can immerse yourself in that environment. So if I do not have access to anything in that language, then it's obviously difficult. But if I do have access to something, then there is something that somewhere I can start off with. And if there is access to the internet, then of course there's a lot of things that can be done. All of these things are applicable if there is accessibility. Thank you, Mani, Dr. Jyoti Mani. Thank you very much. Arvind Thakreji, thank you very much. Vinod Rathorji, thank you very much. Pragati Deshkari ma'am, thank you very much. Yes, any other questions? So these are some of the links that I would like you to, you can take a snapshot of this if you want. These are some of the useful links that I shortlisted that, again, you can use it for yourself. You can share it with other people. You can share it with your learners. So feel free to do that.
Debarti, I would like to tell you that Subir Ray was there from Calcutta on FB.
Yes, yes, yes.
Huh.
Thank you. Is he still there?
I think he is there.
Thank you very much, Ruirda. Thank you so much for making it. I'm really, really honored. I'm glad that he could make time out. He's an extremely busy man. He has a lot of shows and a lot of performances and all of that. So I'm really, really honored that he could make time. Thank you so much.
And I think Sri Kumar Parmeswaran is also one of your
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'm so honored, Mr. Parmeshwaram. Thank you for joining. Okay, so if you have taken a snapshot of this particular slide, then that would be all from me this evening, and I can open this up for your questions if you like.
Kailash Jadhav has raised his hand. Please unmute yourself, sir. Kailash Jadhav, sir. Kailash Jadhav, sir, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Actually, at that time, I had another one question. I forget now it.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Is there any question on Facebook that anybody can see, maybe?
No, no more questions on Facebook. Just one reaction. In fact, Language Lab is still a distant dream for most of the schools in our region by Shankar sir.
Uh, Actually, it's a very simple thing to do. It's one of the simplest things to do. In fact, creating a language lab. I mean, you can just have a makeshift room. Also, you don't even need to have a dedicated room. If there is a space crunch in your school, I mean, I have personally visited a lot of schools across the country, and I know that there is serious space issues in a lot of schools. So if there is space crunch, then you can have a makeshift arrangement. If not, if you have extra space, then you can just dedicate one room for as a language club. And even if you do not have infrastructure, I mean, please remember, people just need to come in, people just need to speak to each other. They just need a facilitator maybe, who can just guide them along, and maybe tell them that, okay, this is a topic of discussion for this evening. So you just need a facilitator. You don't even need to spend extra money for this. I mean, this is the simplest of things that any school can do. I mean, people, especially there are times when, you have, if a teacher is absent, for example, if a class is cancelled, for example, you can utilize that time for these sessions. There can be games, there can be lots and lots of language games that can be played. You just need to do everything using that language. That's all. Play a game, have fun, crack a joke, watch a movie, do whatever, but just do it in English. That's it. It's the easiest of things to do, actually. Anything else?
Ma'am, I have a question from my son
Yes.
who
Yes,
keeps
please.
me asking. It is very interesting.
Yes.
He always say, who the hell these spellings have made? Who is the person who have made all these spellings? Sometimes it is C is written for cat, K is written for kite, C is
Yeah.
again written for caught, K
Yes,
is written
that
for
is
keep. Why not keep only K or only C? So how
that
do
is
we,
a that, that
how do
is
we answer?
you can please tell your son that even I have that question. You can tell him that we both have that question. Why does it have to be so complicated?
He
um
should
so that's
watch
when,
the
if I
movie Chupke Chupke. He should
I'm
watch
sorry.
that movie Chupke Chupke.
Yeah, right. So the thing is, you know um one of the important aspects of this language is that the spelling and the pronunciation, they do not always match. Indian languages are a lot more simpler that ways. At least my language is. My mother tongue is Bengali. I speak Bangla at home, and that language is fairly simple in terms of the
Very
spelling
bhalo.
and pronunciation. So there's no difference. I mean, the way we pronounce is the way we write. Unlike English is not that kind of a language. Spanish, yes, Spanish is like that. So the way you speak is the way you write. Again, they are different languages. They are formed differently. So and also English has gone through several stages of evolution. A lot of influences have come over years, over generations. So it has evolved in its own way over the time, and a lot of changes have taken place in the language as well. So this is, well, we can't help it. We can't do anything about why the spellings and the pronunciation do not match. But I think it's important to keep in mind that when you are learning the pronunciation of a word, it's important to also check the spelling, because they may not be the same. So yeah.
Ma'am, one more question is there from Mr. Baldev Ade sir.
Yes.
Ade sir, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes. Ade sir, good evening. Yes, tell me.
Good evening. Let me thank you for
My pleasure.
presenting wonderfully. Question is, ma'am, we 3 to 4 WhatsApp group, and I think 550 teachers are with us in all these groups. We are holding a wonderful webinars for teachers to participate, to join, such meetings, important
Thank you.
meetings, but teachers fail to participate. You are a motivational speaker. You train teachers. You train students. What should we do to inspire teachers to learn?
Um, okay, so first thing is, it is very important to know, accept, and realize that learning a language or any kind of learning is a never ending process. If this basic understanding is in place, if this basic realization is established, then I think the rest of the journey falls in place. You, like I said, my last tip was have patience. That's the most important thing. You have to be patient. You cannot give up so easily. So it will take time and you will have to give that time. And it is time that will help you perfect the art of speaking. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
Good.
So,
Okay,
sir, I
thank you,
can't
ma'am.
hear you, Ada, sir.
Thank you. Well done.
Okay, I said, does that did I answer your question or?
No, no, no. I want to ask you how to inspire teachers. Most of the teachers are failing to participate after appealing them, appealing to them repeatedly. They are feeling they are not inspired. They are not inspired. We have done a lot in English forum. We have done a lot, really. Deepika ma'am is there, Shubhagi ma'am is there, Ajay is there, Harika, Shika. Our team is very good team.
See, again, like,
Are not being inspired.
okay,
They
so
are not responding. We have 550. We are very well in English. We are giving them.
okay, so I think there are two things to consider
What should
here.
we?
Yeah. So I think there are two things to consider here. Number one is, you can't really force an adult to do something. That is first point. You can't force them. Everybody is an adult. Everybody has their own engagements or commitments, etc. So we can't force everybody. So that is point number one. Point number two is whether the person is an adult, whether the person is a teacher or a learner. When you are learning something, you are a learner irrespective of your age, irrespective of your profession. So when you are learning, you will have to put in the effort of a learner. And all of these points will also factor in. So if I'm not interested in something, then I will not pay attention to that. I will not participate. So there has to be something that is interesting, something that is motivating, something that is inspiring. So as a group, as a club, you can vote, you can have a democratic group where you can come up with ideas and people can vote, like what are some of the things that we can all do so that we can support each other in our learning process. And people can start voting, people can start giving ideas. The people who are interested, they will participate. The people who are not interested, you can't force them. And if you want to force them, it will not really be helpful. I mean, you can't force something to happen. That's as simple as that. And it is true for anybody.
Ma'am, may I come in into
Yes.
this conversation?
Yes,
As
please.
you said that interest matters a lot, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we all are teachers.
Sure.
But when we go to the classroom and we try to teach the subject, do you think that all the children who are sitting before us are interested? They are actually not interested, and that is the real difficulty of our teaching learning process.
I
So
agree.
how do you deal with this?
Okay, so again, I agree with what you're saying, but the point of the matter is the same, that the way the education system has been working, the kind of rigid patterns and approaches and principles that we have been following for ages, for decades. I mean, we don't realize that there needs a massive change in the way things have been functioning. And nobody is at fault here. I mean, you are not at fault because you are also a victim of this system. Your students are not at fault because they are also a victim of this system. Their parents are not at fault because they are also a victim of this system. We are all a victim of this education system, which is so rigid, which is so what do you call, one size fits all approach sort of an attitude, that this is one block, this is one box, and you have to fit in this box. Why? The 5 fingers of your hand are not the same. How can you expect 2 children, 2 minds to be the same? Now, so this is an existing problem. There is a lacuna in the system itself, and we have to try and think of ways of bypassing that lacuna and doing whatever we can in our limited capacity. So in your classroom, there's only so much that you can do. How you can create that interest as a teacher, we will also have to take that extra step, because I mean, we expect our students to take interest. But if you speak to a student, if you approach a student as a friend and not as a teacher, not as an expert, not as a parent or a caregiver or whoever, you will identify that they also have a lot of issues. You will identify that they also have concerns that they are also battling with. I mean, sometimes it is not only the fact that they're uninterested in the teacher or they're uninterested in the subject. It could be some other problem also. I mean, there are so many factors that we don't know, and we just want to have one straightforward answer for every problem. That is not possible. We have to understand that we are humans, and there's only so much that we can do. We can't do everything. We also have limited abilities and limited capacities, but we have to make that effort, that in that 35-minute period in your class with your students, what is it that you can do that everybody will say, okay, I learned something, at least one thing. Can we all like confidently say that in every class we do something, or we give something to our students that everybody has a takeaway from? Can we all be as confident as that? I doubt. We have to face the mirror first, before pointing fingers at others. So we need to go through that acid test ourselves, so
I think one more reason is there for the teachers not participating.
yes,
Because they know that as soon as the webinar is over, within an hour and a half, you are going to get the recording. So they are going to see according to their convenience. So
that's
maybe
possible.
they are not there.
That's possible.
Yeah. I think that is, we should keep the
But I
recording
think,
for at least 1 or 2 days.
but I
then
think
show the
Ade sir was talking about teachers' participation in general. I mean, that's what I felt. I think he was talking about the English Forum Nagpur.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't it? He said there are more than 500 teachers. How can we ensure that everybody is interested and motivated? So I think he was not talking about the webinar, because I saw a lot of people writing comments and stuff and all of that. So yeah, so it's 6:45. We had said an hour and we have overshot time.
Yes.
So if nobody else has any question, I mean, I
Yes,
don't really have anything much to say. So
we have taken a lot of your time today.
no, that's not it. But if anybody else has any question, I'm happy to answer.
I don't see any questions now.
All right. Okay. I hope everybody found value. That is the most important thing. I hope everybody has some takeaway from the session. There's something that you found out of the session.
I would now like to request Shikha to please give the vote of thanks. Shikha,
Okay.
are you there? Shikha? Shikha, is she there?
Shikha ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am. Thank you, Ade sir, thank you for your wishes. Thank you, Dr. Shubhra Roy. Thank you. I
Yes,
hope you found this work.
good
Yes,
evening,
Shikha.
madam. We rarely come across such unequivocal session. It was absolutely an impromptu, and your laconic replies were actually convincing, because so many times we teachers come across some anomalous situations where we feel like what to answer and what not. So the steps which we got to learn today, they're actually commendable, and we are very sure, damn sure, in fact, that they are going to help us a lot.
Thank
So
you.
this vicarious session, madam, is something which we are going to cherish for a long time, and hope to have such convincing and commendable webinars in future as well. It was a great time with you. Thank you so much. And English Forum is always there. So you can anytime. I mean, I feel that whenever we'll invite you, you'll be readily say yes.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It
Like,
was. I loved being part of the session. I loved so many faces.
yeah,
Loved to see that there was a lot of participation. So many people wrote so many things
yeah,
in
actually,
this chat box. I can't see the Facebook chat box though, but
yeah.
so yeah, thank you very very much
Today
for
you made
inviting.
us all an interbit person to combat with many kind of situations where we fall short. So thank you so much. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I could be of value, that I could be of
Yes,
use.
yes.
So
And
thank you very much.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Have a nice day, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you for your time. We took a lot of time. We overshot time, so we have not been able to stay committed to the timeline. But I really, really am grateful for
Thank you, ma'am.
for all of your time, for participating and showering so much love. Thank you very much. It was a great honor being part of the session. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you so much.
I
Pleasure
thank
is all ours. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
thank Ade sir also for
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
putting the words to you and
Yes,
bringing
yes,
in
absolutely. It
this
was Adi
wonderful.
sir who actually
He was
invited me first. So
instrumental
thank
in
you.
bringing you here, and
Yeah,
we got virtual introduction. So that is
Yes.
blitz something, blitz something. Thank you.
and
Thank you so
we
much.
would. Yes, Shika ma'am, go ahead.
No, ma'am, yeah, sir, I have done. My
Okay,
thanking is done. Yeah,
then
please carry on.
let me
Thank you.
thank Deepika Gode madam also for helping us in moderation. I also thank Dr. Shubhangi Pankule ma'am for introducing the today's guest. And last but not the least, of course, the guest, Deborati Roy ma'am, who gives so much of time to us. And thank you so much.
I'd really look forward to having such amazing sessions in future with you all as well. It was such a
Thank you
beautiful
very much.
evening with you, with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.